Hello, beautiful, amazing people. How are you today? I hope that you are all well and you are ready to continue with me coding from FreeCodeCamp. For those of you who are new to my channel, hi, how are you? My name is Eleftheria and I'm a front-end developer. Currently, I am working with FreeCodeCamp as I mentioned, and in the two previous videos, we did the basic HTML and HTML5. We did everything from this section, and also we did the basic CSS. So now it's time to work with the applied visual design, and I have already opened the applied visual design here. We have a bunch of things to do, so I hope that you are sitting well, and I hope that you're having some water or coffee near you and you're ready to code with me. Before we do that, I would like to remind you to please share and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and if you did that, then we are ready to start. On the left part, I'm going to read all the information and the instructions and the challenge. Then in the middle part, I'm going to write the code, and on the right part, we are going to see the result. Cool, let's start with the applied visual design, and the first text or the first challenge is create visual balance using the text align property. This section of the curriculum focuses on applied visual design. The first group of challenges build on the given card layout to show a number of core principles. Text is often a large part of web content. CSS has several options for how to align it with the text align property. Text align uses justify, center, right, and left. Justify causes all lines of text except of the last line to meet the left and right edges of the text of the line box. Then center, it centers the text, right, and left, again, also left is the default one. Now it says to align the H4 text which is Google to the center. Then justify the paragraph tag which contains information about how Google was founded. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to H4, which is up here, and I think that in it the text align it says center, so I'm going to copy that one and doing it something else. Then justify the paragraphs tags. So for the paragraphs, I'm not going to have center, but I'm going to have the justify. Okay, and I don't think that we need anything else, but yeah, everything is correct. Let's keep going. Next challenge, adjust the width of an element using the width property. You can specify the width of an element using the width property in CSS. Values can be given in relative length units such as EM, absolute length units such as pixel, or as a percentage of its containing parent element. Here is an example that changes the width of an image to 220 pixels. You have the image, you have the width, and then you set a value. Now let's see what we have to do. Add a width property to the entire card and set it on an absolute value of 245 pixels. Use the full card class to select the element. Full card, okay, let's find that class. It's here, and then it says to add a width of, oops, we need the pixels. Okay, now I guess it's correct, and it is. Cool, and let's keep going to the third one, which is adjust the height of an element using the height property. You can specify the height of an element using the height property in CSS, similar to the width property. We also have an example here with height 20 pixels, and now it says a height property to the H4 tag and set it to 25 pixels. H4 is here, and we will play with the height this time, and it should be 25 pixels. We can see always the changes here. I'm doing this a little bit fast because I don't think like that I should pay more attention, but of course if you find something that it's hard, you can pause the video, you can rewatch it, or you can of course just leave a comment below and I will try to answer it. Use the strong tag to make the text bold. To make text bold, you can use the strong tag. This is often used to draw attention to text and symbolize that it is important. With the strong tag, the browser applies the CSS of font weight bold to the element. Wrap a strong tag around the Stanford University inside the P tag. Let's find that. So Stanford University is here. Okay, so it's here, and we can use now wrap a strong tag. Let's do it like that. Okay, and here with the strong, let's see if we did everything correctly. And now it says the strong tag should wrap around the words Stanford University. I think that I'm doing the same thing, so I'm not sure why it doesn't seem correct. Okay, that was it. I just have like an empty space that I shouldn't have. Next challenge, use the U tag to underline text. And this is like text decoration underline. Note, try to avoid using the U tag when it could be confused for a link. Anchor tags also have a default underlined formatting. So this time we have to wrap the U tag only around the text PhD students. Let's find that. It is here, and I'm going to use the U tag on PhD students. And I guess that we are correct, and yep, we are. Next challenge, use the EM tag to italize text. Okay, so we have like font style, italic. Wrap an EM tag around the contents of the paragraph tag to give it emphasis. Wrap an EM tag, okay, around the contents of the paragraph. So I will have it here, EM, and then here. But to be honest, I'm not sure if it wants it here or like outside of the P. Okay, that was correct. So inside of the paragraph, you want the EM tag. Use the S tag to strike through text. And this is text decoration line through. Wrap the S tag around Google inside the H4 tag and then add the word alphabet beside it, which should not have the strike through formatting. Okay, so the first thing is we want the alphabet. It should be next to Google. Okay, and now with the S, I'm going to add it here. And again like that, and let's see again if this is correct. It is, so we can continue. So far so good. Now create a horizontal line using the HR element. You can use the HR tag to add a horizontal line across the width of its containing element. This can be used to define a change in topic or to visually separate groups of content. Add an HR tag underneath the H4, which contains the card title. Note: in HTML, HR is a self-closing tag and therefore it doesn't need a separate closing tag. Alright, so add an HR tag underneath the H4. Come on. Alright, and I guess that we are good to go, and we are. Next challenge, adjust the background color property of text. Alright, now it's time to play a little bit with the colors, and I like that. Instead of adjusting your overall background or the color of the text to make the foreground easily readable, you can add the background color to the element holding the text you want to emphasize. This challenge uses RGBA instead of hex codes or normal RGB. And then we have what RGBA stands for. and R is for red, G is for green, and B is for blue, and then A it's alpha or level of opacity. The values for A is from 0 to 1, whereas the values from red, green and blue is from 0 through 255. Alright, now to make the text stand out more, adjust the background color of the H4. So let's copy that one. And give like an RGBA value. Also for the H4, remove the height property and add a padding of text of 10 pixels. So for the H4, I will remove the height. I am going to have a padding of 10 pixels. And also I'm going to add a background color with RGBA. Does it mention what value it should have? I don't think that it does. Am I missing something? Oh well, we're going to see in a while. I don't think that I'm missing anything. Yeah, we are correct. Cool, let's keep going with the next challenge. Adjust the size of a header versus a paragraph tag. The font size of header tags H1 through H6 should generally be larger than the font size of paragraph tags. This makes it easier for the user to visually understand the layout and level of importance of everything on the page. You use the font size property to adjust the size of the text in the element. To make the heading significantly larger than the paragraph, change the font size of the H4 tag to 27 pixels. Okay, let's go here and let's add the font size and let's make it, 25 pixels. And that seems correct. Let's continue and see the next challenge, which says add a box shadow to a card-like element. The box shadow property applies one or more shadows to an element, and here it says what property it takes. It starts with offset X and offset Y, and then you have blur radius, spread radius, and it says that blur radius and spread radius values are optional. We also have an example here. So these are the first values and then the color of the shadow and etc. So the element now has an ID of thumbnail. Okay, I'm going to copy that one. With this selector, use the example CSS values above to place a box shadow on the card. Okay, so let's find that the thumbnail is here. I'm going to create an ID here, and what we have to do is to create now also a box shadow. Cool. Shadow seems nice. Let's continue with decrease the opacity of an element. Now the opacity property in CSS is used to adjust the opacity or conversely the transparency for an item. Set the opacity of the anchor tags to 0.7 using links class to select them. Okay, we have now the links and it says that the opacity should be 0.7, so I'm going to write opacity 0.7 and we are good to go. Cool. Next challenge says use the text transform property to make text uppercase. The text transfer property in CSS is used to change the appearance of text. And here we have like all the cases like lowercase, uppercase, capitalize, which is something that I personally use quite a lot, initial, inherit, and then none, which is the default one. Transform the text of the H4 to be uppercase using the text transform property. I'm going to copy the text transfer. Let's go to the H4 and it should be uppercase. Okay, so I'm going to take that one, paste it, and now we can see the result, which is in capital. Okay, next thing. Set the font size for multiple heading elements. The font size property is used to specify how large the text is in a given element. This rule can be used for multiple elements to create a visual consistency of text on a page. In this challenge, you'll set the values for all h1 through h6 tags to balance the heading sizes. So, okay, for h1, okay, let's go here. Oops, it should be font size 68 pixel. Okay, I will copy that one and paste it here. Like I need h1, h2 with 52 and h3 with 40, h4 with 32, and then we have h5 with 21, and of course h6 with 14. And now we don't need that thing. Let's see if our things are correct, and they are. Okay, we will continue with set the font weight for multiple heading elements. Before we style the font size, and now it's time for font weight, and it says that the font weight property sets how thick or thin characters are in a section of text. Okay, the first one for the header 1 is going to be 800. Oops. And 800, as you can notice here, there isn't any measurement, so there isn't any pixels or it's just like that. The next one is going to be on 600, next on 500, h4 will be on 400, h5 on 3, and then h6 will be on 2, which is the thinnest. So 800 the thicker, and then like h6 the thinner. We will continue, and the next thing that we are going to see is set the font size of paragraph text. The font size property in CSS is not limited to headings. It can be applied to any element containing text. Change the value of the font size property for the paragraph to 16 pixels to make it more visible. So from 10, I'm going to change it to 16. And indeed it is quite bigger, so you can read it more easily. Set the line height of paragraphs, and you can set the line height with the property of line height, and now it says add the line height property to the p tag and set it to 25 pixels. We will do so like that. Okay. We can see the result. It is correct, I guess, so we are ready to continue. Adjust the hover state of an anchor tag. This challenge will touch on the usage of pseudo classes. A pseudo class is a keyword that can be added to selectors in order to select a specific state of the element. For example, the styling of an anchor tag can be changed for its hover state using the hover pseudo class selector. Here's the CSS to change the color of an anchor tag to red during its hover state. So you have a hover and then the color you want. Let's see what we have to do. The code editor has a CSS rule to style all 8 tags. We can see it here. add a rule so that when the user hover over the A tag, the color is blue. So far it doesn't change, but if we do like this with color blue, it should change. And yep, it does. Okay, change an element's relative position. CSS treats its HTML element as its own box, which is usually referred to as the CSS box model. Now, block level items automatically start on a new line, like think headings, paragraphs, and divs, while inline items sit within surrounding content, like images or spans. The default layout of elements in this way is called the normal flow of a document, but CSS offers the position property to override it. Okay, so far so good. When the position of an element is set to relative, it allows you to specify how CSS should move its relative to its current position in the normal flow of the page. It pairs with the CSS offset properties of left or right and top or bottom. These say how many pixels, percentages, or EMs to move the item away from where it is normally positioned. The following example moves the paragraph 10 pixels away from the bottom. So you have position relative and then bottom 10 pixels. I think that in action we will understand it a little bit better. Now let's see, change the position of the H2 to relative. So I will set the position to relative, and then it says, and use a CSS offset to move it 15 pixels away from the top. So it will be top 15 pixels. Notice there is no impact on the position of the surrounding H1 and P elements. Okay, we are good here. Next thing that we have to do is, move a relatively positioned element with CSS offsets. So the CSS offsets of top or bottom and left or right tell the browser how far to offset an item relative to where it would sit in the normal flow of the document. You're offsetting an element away from a given spot, which moves the element away from the referenced size. Now, as you saw in the last challenge, using the top offset moved the H2 downwards. Likewise, using a left offset moves an item to the right. I think that we got that. So now it says use CSS offsets to move the H2 15 pixels to the right and 10 pixels up. Okay, so left it should be 15 pixels and then bottom, if I'm not mistaken, it should be 10 pixels. And yep, it is. Cool. Next challenge. Lock an element to its parent with absolute position. So the next option for the CSS position property is absolute, which locks the element in place relative to its parent container. Unlike the relative position, this removes the element from the normal flow of the document, so surrounding items ignore it. You can do so by position, like relative, and then it says the browser will keep looking up for the chain and ultimately default to the body tag. Lock the search bar, we have it here, okay, to the top right of its section parent by declaring its position as absolute. Give it top and right offsets of 50 pixels each. Okay, so I'm going to the search bar. I'm going to use the position of absolute. Okay, absolute. And then for top I'm going to have 50 pixels, and for right I'm going to have also 50 pixels, and I think that this is the correct thing, but let's also check it out. And yeah, everything seems correct. Lock an element to the browser window with fixed position. So we have fixed, absolute and relative. Let's see what we have to do. The navigation bar in the code is labeled within an ID of navbar. Change its position to fixed and offset it to 0 pixels from the top and 0 pixels from left. Notice the lack of impact to the H1 position. It hasn't been pushed down to accommodate the navigation bar and would need to be adjusted separately. So let's see what exactly we have to do. The first thing is that we have to add the position of fixed, and then also add a top of 0 pixels, add a left of 0 pixels, and yeah, I think that I can see all the changes that I just read before, so we are good to continue. It says bingo. I like these words. Choose elements left or right with the float property. Okay, this is something new. The next positioning tool does not actually use position, but sets the float property of an element. Floating elements are removed from the normal flow of a document and pushed to either the left or right of their containing parent element. It's commonly used with the width property to specify how much horizontal space the floated element requires. The given marked would work well as a two-column layout with a section and aside elements next to each other. Give the left item a float of left, okay, and the right item a float of right. Okay, so I will go first to the left one, and I will type float left, and then I will do the same thing here, but with flow right. Okay, so far so good, and I like it. Let's continue with the next challenge, which is change the position of an overlapping element with the z-index property. With elements are positioned to overlap, the element coming later in the HTML markup will by default appear on the top of the other elements. However, the z-index property can specify the order of how elements are stacked on top of each other. So think of z-index something like the layers in Photoshop. The one that it's like most on the top, it will be the one that it will be more visible. Add the z-index property to the element with the class name of first, which will be the first rectangle, okay, and set it to a value of 2, so it covers the other element, the blue rectangle. Okay, so in the first, I'm going to have the z-index of 2. Okay. Center an element horizontally using the margin property. Another positioning technique is to center a block element horizontally. One way to do this is to set its margin to a value of auto. This method works for images too. Images are inline elements by default, but can be changed to block elements when you set the display property to block. Center the div of the page by adding a margin property with a value of auto. Okay, that sounds easy. I think that the only thing we have to do is like this, and yep, the block is centered, so we are good to go. Next challenge says learn about complementary colors. Color theory and its impact on design is a deep topic, and only the basics are covered in the following challenges. On a website, color can draw attention to content, evoke emotions, or create visual harmony. Using different combinations of colors can really change the look of a website, and a lot of thought can go into picking a color palette that works with your content. The color wheel is a useful tool to visualize how colors relate to each other. It's a circle where similar hues are neighbors and different hues are further apart. When two colors are opposite each other on the wheel, they are called complementary colors. They have the characteristics that if they are combined, they cancel each other out and create a gray color. However, when placed side by side, these colors appear more vibrant and produce a strong visual contrast. I like that things. Some examples of complementary colors with their hex codes are red and cyan, green and magenta, blue and yellow. I think my favorite combination is blue and yellow. This is different than the outdated RGB color model that many of us were taught in school. Okay, I will leave these things and I will go down here to the challenge, but of course feel free to read all the information. It's to change the background color property of the blue and yellow classes to their respective colors. Notice how the color looks different next to each other than they do compared against the white background. Okay, so I'm going to change that to the blue color, and then I will also change the yellow color. And I think that I can see the difference that this information we're like talking about. They do look like quite complementary to each other, to one another. Learn about tertiary colors. So again, I'm not going to read all of this information, but feel free to do so. I'm going to skip the information and I'm going through the challenge. Change the background color property of the orange, cayenne and raspberry classes to their respective colors. Make sure to use the hex codes as orange and raspberry are not browser recognized color names. Okay, let's start with the orange one. I will paste in the orange class and then let's move on cayenne, and again here, and last but not least the raspberry one. These colors looks beautiful, I do like them. Okay, continuing, let's see if we have anything else about colors, and it's adjust the color of various elements to complementary colors. Okay, this page will use a shade of teal, okay, as the dominant color, and it's orange, complementary to visual highlight the sign up buttons. Change the background color of both the header and the footer from black to teal. So teal is this color. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to, I think it says like header and then footer. Okay, header and footer. Then change the H2 text color to teal as well. So H2, I'm going to take the teal. Let's paste it here. Finally, change background color of the button to orange. As for orange, we have that thing right here. So let's make it like that. Everything seems correct. So I guess that we are good to go, and yep, we are. Okay, next challenge. Adjust the hue of a color. Hue. Okay, so hue is what people generally think of as color. If you picture a spectrum of colors, starting with the red on the left, moving through green in the middle and blue on right, the hue is where a color fits along this line. In HCl, hue uses a color wheel concept instead of the spectrum, where the angle of the color on the screen is given as a value between 0 and 360. So in the HCl, you have the hue, the saturation, and the lightness. So we read about the hue, and now let's read about the saturation. Saturation is the amount of gray in a color. A fully saturated color has no gray in it, and a minimally saturated color is almost completely gray. This is given as a percentage, with 100% being fully saturated. Now last but not least, lightness is the amount of white or black in a color. A percentage is given ranging from 0, which is black, to 100%, which is white. And of course, like 50% is a normal color. And then we have like some examples of HCl, HSO, and it says like change the background color of each div element based on the class names green, cyan, and blue using HCl. All three should have full saturation and normal brightness. So for green, I'm going to take this one. I'm going up here, and yep, I think that's it. Then for cyan, I'm going to copy this one. Okay. Then for blue, I'm going also to take this one. Okay, let's delete it and see the result. I think that's it. Cool. Let's keep working on with these challenges, and then we have adjust the hue of adjust the tone of a color. The navigation bar of this site currently inherits its background color from the header element. Starting with that color as a base, add a background color to the nav. So take the background color from here, element, so it uses the same cyan hue, but has 80% saturation and 25% lightness values to change its tone and shape. Okay, let's go here, and then I'm going to have 180 as it is right here. Then I'm going to have 80%. Okay, and then I'm going to have 25%. Oops. Come on. Now we think we are almost correct. I'm missing one thing, and it's that one. Okay, now we are correct. Oh, sorry, I didn't try the word HCl, but now we are correct. Okay, next challenge. Create a gradual CSS linear gradient. Applying a color on HTML elements is not limited to one flat hue. CSS provides the ability to use color transitions, otherwise known as gradients, on elements. This is accessed through the background property linear gradient function, and we have like this general syntax. So background has a linear gradient. The first is the gradient direction, then the second one is the color, then color, and then color, and keeps going on like that. We also have an example here with like 90 degrees and then some colors. The colors can be in whatever format you like, so we have RGB or HCl or RGBA or even our standard colors. Use a linear gradient for the div element's background and set it from a direction of 35 degrees to change the color from this one to this one. Okay, I'm going to take like this example here. I think that it will help me. And I'm going up here. Let's paste it and see what exactly we have to do. I think that it says the 35 degrees, and then the first color is going to be this one, whereas the second color is going to be that one. So I'm going to delete these things, and let's check again if I am missing something. I think that I'm not missing anything yet. Yeah, we are correct. Moving on, says use a CSS linear gradient to create a stripped element. The repeating linear gradient function is very similar to linear gradient, with a major difference that it repeats the specified gradient pattern. So repeating a linear gradient accepts a variety of values, but for simplicity, you will work with an angle value and color stop values in this challenge. The angle value is the direction of the gradient, and color stops are like width values that mark where a transition takes place and are given with a percentage or a number of pixels. In the example demonstrated in the code editor, the gradient starts with a color of yellow at 0 pixels, which blends into the second color, which is blue, at 40 pixels. Okay, so we have like 0, 40, then I guess it goes the green with 40 and the red with 800 pixels. Let's see what we have to do. Make stripes by changing the repeating linear gradient to use a gradient angle of 45 degrees. Then set the first two color stops to yellow and finally the second two color stops to black. Okay, so the background, it will start like that, but the first thing is 45 degrees, then yellow 40, yellow 0, then again yellow at 40, then we will have black. Okay, so black at 40, and last but not least I will use the black one more time at 80. Oh, that was a cool effect. Nice. Create a texture by adding a subtle pattern as a background image. Okay, so let's see, this time what we have to do, it says on way to add texture and interest to a background and have it stand out more is to add a subtle pattern. The key is balance, as you don't want the background to stand out too much and take away from the foreground. The background property supports the URL function in order to link to an image of the chosen texture or pattern. The link address is wrapped in quotes inside the parentheses. So let's see what we have to do. It says using the URL http blah blah blah, set the background of the whole page with the body selector. Okay, we will try to do so. I'm going to have the background, then I'm going to have a URL. Inside here I'm going to paste that URL, and if everything is correct we should see, no, everything is not correct. But why? It says like background, oh, maybe that thing? Background URL, I think that it is correct. Yeah, I shouldn't have left like this space between the words. Use the CSS transform scale property to change the size of an element. To change the scale of an element, CSS has the transform property along with its scale function. The following code examples doubles the size of the paragraph elements to one page. On the page, sorry. So it says page transform scale 2. And now what we have to do is to increase the size of the element with the ID of ball 2 to 1.5 times its original size. Let's find ball 2, and here I will add the transform and scale, and inside the parentheses 1.5. Let's test it and see if it is correct. Oh, and I should have also like this one. Okay, that was correct. Next challenge. Use the CSS transform scale property to scale an element on hover. Okay, so to do so we have again an example here like p, hover, and transform. Add the CSS rule for the hover state of the div and use the transform property to scale the div element to 1.1 times its original size when a user hovers over it. Okay, so for the div, I'm going to copy that thing right here. I don't have a p, but I have a div, and I will fix very quickly like this thing, and now have to make it as 1.1. So if I hover over it, I can see the changes, so I know that we did everything correctly. Okay, so far so good, wouldn't you agree with me? But yeah, you know, like if you have any question, as always, leave a comment below. Let's keep moving on. Use the CSS transform property skew x to skew an element along the x-axis. Okay, so the next function of the transform property is skew x, which skews the selected element along its x horizontal axis by a given degree. And again, here we do have an example like transform skew x minus 32 pixels. I'm going to copy this one because I feel that we are going to be using it in a while. Skew the element with the ID of bottom. Okay, I'm going to paste it right here by 24 degrees along the x-axis by using the transform property. Okay, so here, and I will make it as 24. I don't think that I need the minus, so it will be just like that. 24. Let's run the test and see if everything is working correctly, and it does. Okay, let's keep moving on. I guess the next challenge will be about skew y, because yeah, we do have skew x, but we also have skew y. Yep, I was correct. Nice, good for me. Now it says use the CSS transform property skew y to skew an element along the y-axis. So skew the element with the ID top. Top is here, okay. I'm going also to paste it, skew y. And this time we will skew it to -10. Yep, I can see the changes for one more time. I think that we don't have to change anything else, and I think that we are good to go. Oh, no, we are not. Oh, because it should be on capital. So yeah, like I was so sure that I had everything done correctly, but alright, now we can continue. Create a graphic using CSS. By manipulating different selectors and properties, you can make interesting shapes. One of the easier ones to try is a crescent moon shape. Okay, for this challenge you need to work with the box shadow property that sets the shadow of an element along with a border radius. Okay, so you may recall from an earlier challenge that the box shadow property takes values of offset x, offset y, blur radius, spread radius, and a color value in that order. Blur radius and spread radius values are optional. And let's see what we have to do. Manipulate the square element, okay, in the editor to create the moon shape. First change the background color to transparent, so background color should be transparent, and I don't need the blue. I think that I misspelled the word, so I will copy and paste it just to be sure. Yeah, I had like misspelled it. Then set the border radius property to 50%. So let's change that to 50%, and last but not least, the box shadow property to set offset x on 25 pixels and then 10 pixels, the border radius to 0 and the spread radius again to 0, and the color from green should be blue. And it is blue, so we are correct. Let me check that with running the tests. Yep, we are correct, and we can continue this journey. Create a more complex shape using CSS and HTML. One of the most popular shapes in the world is the heart shape, and this challenge you will create one using pure CSS, but first you need to understand the before and after pseudo elements. These elements are used to add something before or after a selected element. In the following example, before pseudo element is used to add a rectangle to an element with the class of heart. So you have heard and before. Okay. For the before and after pseudo classes to function. Okay, where was I? To function property, they must have a defined content property. Okay, this property is usually used to add things like a photo or text to the selected element. When the before and after elements are used to make shapes, the content property is still required, but it's set to an empty string. Okay, I think that I got this, so let's read what we have to do. Transform the element on the screen to a heart. In the heart after, selector, change the background color to pink and the border radius to 50. So first things first, pink and border radius of 50. Next, target the element with a class heart, just heart, okay, function with the minus 45 degrees. Okay, so it should be rotate works. Okay, I will copy the rotate and I will paste it right here. I will add inside the parentheses the minus 45 degrees. And finally, in the heart before selector, set its content property to an empty string. So the heart before the content should be an empty string. It is an empty string, and yeah, I can see the heart. Wow, that was cool. I didn't expect that it would be like, you know, quite easy. Learn how the CSS add keyframes and animation properties work. To animate an element, you need to know about the animation properties and the add keyframes rule. The animation properties control how the animation should behave, and the add keyframes rules control what happens during the animation. Animation name sets the name of the animation, which is later used by keyframes to tell CSS which rules go with which animations. Now, animation duration sets the length of time for the animation, and add keyframes is how to specify exactly what happens within the animation over the duration. I think that if we see the example, we will understand it a little bit better. So here we have like the hashtag anim, and then the animation name, colorful, and the animation duration, which is set to 3 seconds. As for the keyframes, they use the animation name, colorful, and then they have like the values from 0 to 100%, and it has like background color, blue, and at the last stage the color will be yellow, so it will start from blue but then it will be yellow. Create an animation for the element with the ID rect, okay, here, by setting the animation name, okay, to rainbow. Let's take the rainbow and let's paste it here, and then it says, let's do it like that, and the animation duration to 4 seconds. So let's also take that and paste it right here. Of course I have to fix that and make it like this. I think that it takes the S, right? Let's check it in the example because I'm not sure if it wants the 4 seconds. Yep, it does. And now we are good to go. Okay, I am missing something because, yeah, of course I didn't read everything in the description. Next, declare keyframes rule and set the background color at the beginning of the animation to 0, blue at the middle, 50, and green at the end. So after that, I will copy the keyframes. I will paste it here. I will also have the rainbow. And then I think that if I copy like the example, it will be faster. So let's take that. And then I need to see the colors because I don't remember them. And also make it like this. So we have 0 with the color of blue, and then we have 50% with the background color, not like that, of green. And last but not least, we have the 100 with the background color of yellow. Now we are correct, and this means that we are good to go. We will continue working with the keyframes, and the next thing that we will do is use a CSS animation to change the hover state of a button. We have like an example here with image hover, animation name, duration, and again the width. Note that ms stands for milliseconds, where 1000 millisecond is equal to 1 second. Use CSS keyframes to change the background color of the bottom element so it's become like this one when a user hovers over it. Now the keyframes rule should only have an entry for 100 pixels. 100%. Okay, let's try to do so. So we have like button hover animation name with the background color and then animation duration of 500. Okay, this is correct. So the next thing that we have to do is to add the animation. I'm going to copy this thing here from the example which says like keyframes with 100%. Let's add it here. For me, it won't be width, but it will be background color. So I'm going to change it, but 100% is correct. This is not correct. I will change that one to, let me copy the color from here, and we will make that change, and I'm pretty sure that we've done everything correctly, and we have. Alrighty, moving on. Modify fill mode of an animation, and we can do so by animation fill mode forwards, for example. Set the animation fill mode property of button hover. So yep, button hover, and let's copy animation fill mode, and it should be forwards. Okay, let's add that, and let's check if I'm missing anything or not. No, we were okay. And the other thing that we have to do is to create movement using a CSS animation. Okay, so when elements have a specified position, such as fixed or relative, the CSS offset properties right, left, top, and bottom can be used in animation rules to create movement. As shown in the example below, you can push the item downwards, then upwards by setting the top property of the 50% keyframe to 50 pixels, but having it set to 0 pixels for the first and the last 100 keyframe. Okay, the example says like 0, 50, and 100, and it has like top, top, and top from 0 to 50, and then again to 0. So I guess that we will have to do something similar. It says add a horizontal motion to the div animation. Okay, so this one. Using the left offset property, add to the keyframes rule, so rainbow starts at 0 pixels at 0%, move to 25 pixels at 50, and ends at minus 25 pixels at 100%. Don't replace the top property in the editor. The animation should have both vertical and horizontal motion. Okay, so we will play with the keyframes. We need the background, the top, and then we will start with the left from 0 pixels. We will continue to 50% with left of 25 pixels, and we will close with 100% and left at minus 25 pixels. And let's check if it is correct. I think that it's working fine, and I think that it's working as it's supposed to work. Okay, running the test. We are missing something, and let's check what we are missing. Okay, here I'm missing this one, but now we are good to go. Next challenge is, I will guess that again it has to do something with keyframes. I mean, I like keyframes and they offer you so many things. You can play so much with the animations, and animations give a cool effect to your websites, and also the users are going to really love it. This is how you can create a beautiful UX and UI by playing a little bit with the animations and always thinking about what your users want. Okay, let's continue. Enough rambling. Create a visual direction by fading an element from left to right. For this challenge, you will change the opacity of an animated element so it gradually fades as it reaches the right side of the screen. In the displayed animation, the round element with the gradient background moves to the right by the 50% mark of the animation per the add keyframe rules. Target the element with the ID ball, okay, so that one, and add the opacity property. Okay, I'm going to copy that one. Okay, here I guess it's the correct spot, and it says set it to 0.1, so 0.1 at 50%. Okay, so the elements fades as it moves to the right. Okay, I think that it does that, so I guess that we are correct. Yep, we are. Next challenge is all about, can we guess about what this is going to be? I think again it's going to be about the keyframes. Am I correct? Yep, I am. Animate elements continually using an infinite animation count. So if you want to have like something set or something fixed, you can use animation iteration count 3. But if you don't want anything, I guess that you can use like none and or infinity, like it says here, to work it forever. Okay. To keep the ball bouncing on the right on a continuous loop, change the animation duration count to infinity. Okay, I'm going to copy this word infinity and I'm going to paste it here on 3. Oops, that was something weird. Okay, sorry for that delay, but my laptop sometimes stucks a little bit, I don't know why. Anyway, now that we are good to go. Oh no, we aren't. The animation iteration count property should have a value of infinity. Oh my god. I think that opacity is the previous word that I copy and pasted, so of course it wasn't the correct one. Now we can continue, and it says make a CSS heartbeat using an infinity animation count. Okay, keep the heart beating by adding an animation iteration count property for both the back class, so the back is this one, and the heart class, and setting the value to infinity. Now, the heart before and heart after selectors do not need any animation properties. Okay, so animation iteration count, it should be like keep the heart beating animation properties to back. Okay, where is the infinity? Okay, and also I will do the same thing here on the heart. The heart before and heart after selectors do not need any animation properties. So are we good to go, or am I missing anything? So I think that we are actually good to go. Let's run the tests, and the test seems to pass because I can see that the heart is beating. Okay, let's move on and let's see what the next challenge is all about. So far, animation duration seems, or animation iteration count seems to go very well. And the next thing that we have to do is to play with the variable rates. Okay, so after the animation rate for the element with the class name of star1, okay, that's the one. Okay, change its keyframes rule to 50%. Okay, so I will go for the star1. We have the tinkle 1, and it says to change that at 50%. Let's see if this is correct, and it is correct. Okay, I like that, and we will go to the next challenge. Yay! I'm not sure if we have a lot more things to do with the visual animations things, but I think that we are coming soon to an end. The next thing says animate multiple elements at variable rates. So set the animation duration of the elements with the classes star1, star2 and star3 to 1 second. Okay, 0.9. Okay, so we'll change these things right here, and 1.1. Okay, read respectively. So yep, we are good right here, and let's keep moving on to the next challenge, which, let me guess, it will be something about animation. Do you guys ever do that, like trying to guess what the next challenge is going to be? I like to play that game, and in general I like guessing on things, and when I don't know anything about that other thing, I will say to the other person, okay, give me a hint, give me a hint, give me a hint, until I found that thing that it's missing or that I cannot understand. Enough rambling by me, let's keep moving on with the change animation timing with keywords. So in CSS animations, the animation timing function property controls how quickly an animated element changes over the duration of the animation. If the animation is a car moving from point A to point B in a given time, your animation duration, the animation timing function, says how the car accelerates and decelerates over the course of the drive. Okay, I think that we got that. I can see here that we can play with a function of is out, is in, and linear, and of course there are a bunch of other functions that you can use. For the elements with ID bol1 and bol2, okay, add an animation timing function. So I'm going to copy that thing right here. I'm going to paste it like 2 times. And let's see what else we have to do. And set the bol1 to linear. Okay, let's copy the linear. And let's paste it here. Whereas for the bol2, we will have the is out. Okay, let's also copy the is out to bol2. Like so. Let me leave a space here and also run the test to see that everything is working according to the plan. Now learn how the Batsou curves work. The last challenge introduced the animation timing function property and a few keywords that change the speed of an animation over its duration. And now in CSS animations, Batsou curves are used with a cubic Batsou function. The shape of the curve represents how the animation plays out. The curve lives on a 1-by-1 coordinate system. The cubic Batsou function consists of 4 main points that sit on this 1-by-1 grid. So you have point 1, point 2, point 3, and point 4. Point 0 and point 3 are set for U. They are the beginning and the end points, which are always located respectively at the origin. So it's like 0.0 and 1.1. You set the X and the Y values to the for the other 2 points, and where you place them in the grid dictates the shape of the curve for the animation to follow. I think that if we do the example, we will understand it a little bit better. But here it says that animation timing function with a cubic Batsou, and it also has a number like remember that it goes like 0, 0 and 1, 1. So it's 0.25, 25, and then 75 and 75. Let's see what we have to do, and I guess that we will also understand it a little bit better. It says for the element with the ID ball 1, okay, change the value of the animation timing function property from linear to its equivalent cubic Bezier function value. Use the point values given in the example above. So if I have understood everything correctly, the only thing that I have to do is this one. And let's see the example. Yep, it is what it's supposed to be, and that's why I have it correct. Okay, now use a Bezier curve to move a graphic. A previous challenge discussed the is-out keyword that describes an animation change that speeds up first and then slows down at the end of the animation. On the right, the difference between the is-out keyword for the blue element and linear keyword for the red element is demonstrated, and we can see like the difference that they have a different speed, but the end is like always the same. So let's see what we have to do for this challenge. To see the effect of this Bezier curve in action, change the animation timing function of the element with the ID of red, so this one, to a cubic Bezier function with x1, y1, x2, and y2 values set to respectively like 0, 0, 0, 78, and 1. Okay, let's first copy the cubic Bezier from here. I will have my parentheses, and inside there I'm going to set it as 0, 0, 0.78 and 1. Let's see the results, and I think that that's the only thing that we have to change, and yeah, we are correct. Moving on, make motion more natural using a Bezier curve. Okay, so the animation timing function automatically loops at every keyframe when the animation iteration count is set to infinite. Since there is a keyframe rule set in the middle of the animation duration at 50%, it results in two identical animation progressions at the upward and downward movement of the ball. So the following cubic Bezier curve simulates a juggling movement. Okay, I think that we can see that. I will copy. No, I will not copy that because I see here that we have different values. So let's read what we have to do. Change value of the animation time function of the element with the ID green, so it's this one, to a cubic Bezier function. Let me also copy this thing with the values are set to respectively. Okay, so let's go here. We have the cubic Bezier, but then we have to change the values like so. The next one is in 0441. Let's change also, like that one, which is 444. And last but not least, it is on 1649. Okay, let's see the animation. Okay, this thing is cool. We are running the test, we are hitting Control and Enter. Oh my god, we did it! That was the last challenge with this animation timing function. I hope that you enjoyed that video, and if you have any questions, just leave a comment below and I will check it out. I will try to answer on it. Thank you very much for watching. I know that this was a long video. Be proud of yourself if you watched it so far. If you didn't watch the whole thing and you paused on something, then also this is great. It means that you are learning and you are paying attention to what you are doing. If you're feeling comfortable about it, then yes, maybe you can go a little bit faster, but if you want to learn everything really well, then take your time and don't rush. that was it for today's video. I would like to remind you to please like, share and subscribe. It's really important for me. But as always, thank you very much for watching. Have an amazing day and see you really soon with another FreeCodeCamp video. Bye!